Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the show. And I'm so happy because we have finally someone who's not a keyboardist, someone who's not a guitarist. We have a member of the wonderful string family, uh, someone who is a cellist and a viola da gamba player, the great Professor Giovanna Barbati. Professor Barbati, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I'm proud to be here to represent the string family.
Because
Um,
we don't often, maybe it's just because there's so many keyboardists, and also because partimento is historically a keyboard activity by definition, but many people are interested in partimento for other instruments, historical flutes, string players, singers. It's very interesting. So I'm so glad that you're here. You can really explain to us. And I'm very curious about this because there are so many names in the history of the 18th century, especially Italian names, who have just vanished. And they were very significant back then. And I think they deserve a revisitation because I think that their history is important and also the pedagogical insights we can glean from them are very valuable. So, Professor Barbati, can you just mention a little bit about yourself? Give me a little introduction and the audience to what you're about and your background.
okay, so I am basically a player. I play cello and viola da gamba, as you were saying. And I started with modern cello, like many people. And at what point I started with the Baroque instrument and practice. And late, I must say, late, I afforded viola da gamba when I already had my two sons. And in the last years, I dedicated really all my energies, besides playing and the family, all my energies to research. And I have been always interested in research, and so I always read many articles and books. And at one point, I felt really urgent to go a bit more specifically into the questions of improvising because I felt this impulse. Also because, yes, because dedicating so much time also to the viola da gamba, which has an earlier repertoire comparing to the cello. Studying, I really saw that something was missing in teaching. I had really wonderful teachers, both in viola da gamba and cello, but we all studied with a 21st century method.
Hmm.
Or 20th century method, which does not include improvisation. And so once I saw that there was conference. The name was Improvisation in the Baroque era. And I said to myself, now or never. And I took the courage because it was the first time, and it's not easy for instrumentalists to speak, to write. It's not our job. Anyway, I tried, and it was the start. That was the start, and after, as it was not so bad, and I met musicologist. Now he is a friend with Olivieri, and he's Neapolitan, and he's so much involved in that repertoire, so that we met about this repertoire and how to consider also the training, etc. And so he gave me some wonderful manuscripts, and I studied them, and I told him they were fantastic. And I now I'm referring to Antonio Guida, which he found by
Hmm.
mistake because he was searching about Antonio Guido, which is a violin player, but of the 17th century. And because his method for cello was catalogued with the name Guido. It was a mistake. And so he told me, I have this manuscript. I don't know if you have time, if you are interested in. So I looked at it. I was really shocked, and I wrote to him. It's fantastic. It's a true method of improvisation. And after he decided to collaborate, and so we made together this critical edition. And after we made also other manuscripts and he had no time to transcribe, and so we made it together. And so I'm really very grateful to him to have decided to share with me this treasure. And at the same time, I tried from the beginning to teach, because I believe that everything you want to learn, you learn by doing. And so to learn to teach, I have to teach. And I tried from the beginning to put in practice what I was thinking. Always, also because sometimes it's easy to get lost, to think strange things, and on the contrary, when you put in practice, usually with young people, they always say the truth, and it's much better to, yes, to confront and to exchange opinions. And so I think that now it's I had started before, but having after this scientific approach, and also some historical sources entirely dedicated to improvisation, I had a more clear path. And so I think now it's 8, 9 years that I teach also improvisation.
Incredible. So, and fantastic that the treatise was discovered by mistake almost. I think that was very, really just a remarkable way that history is giving us these amazing documents that that could have been lost, and then they are found. And it reminds me also of I think was it Scarlatti's Partimenti or something. Somebody said that they found things by mistake, and maybe more things are going to be found. I want to turn to something you said, which was very, very interesting, which was, well, we were talking about the cello, and you talked about Professor Guido Olivieri, who, by the way, is going to come on Friday. So it's going to be a double string episode, which is going to be really fantastic. But can we talk about historical teaching methods? So talk about that treatise. I mean, that's a very remarkable document. I think it's so hard to find authentic
Yes,
documents. So, who
yes.
can you just say a little bit more about the person and what? Elaborate more on the document. Is it a very extensive document? How advanced does it go? Is it who is it written for?
Okay. So now I'm referring to Antonio Guida's manuscript, and this was found by chance. Instead, the others, not the others, Francone or Rocco Greco, belong to very important manuscript, and this is another finding. Antonio Guida was a string instrument teacher at the Conservatory Sant'Onofrio a Capuana in Naples. And he's a very late. It's a very late source, because he was teaching until, I don't remember exactly, perhaps 1795, something like that. And after he continued a bit in the first years of the 19th century, when the four conservatories were unified in Real Collegio di Musica. So we can say it's a classical period, a classical style. And
It doesn't exist on Google. I mean, you're the only one. You and Professor Olivieri are the only ones who have. And there it is, the cello method.
yes, because it was unknown before. It's Guido who found
Amazing.
it. Yes, amazing, really, really, because what shocked me is that after a normal way of starting with the first positions and some little etude or preludes or I don't know studies, how you want to call them, but it's a short part and very quick. So you have, I don't know, two numbers for the first position, two for the second. It goes very quickly on. After, there are many exercises on the scale, and the exercises on the scale are the core of the partimento tradition in Naples. And there is also another method for cello by Salvatore Lanzetti, which is earlier than Antonio Guida, which is known, but nobody until now knew what to do with this book. I don't remember. No, I'm distracted. The name is I don't remember exactly.
The name of the book,
Ainsi
the cello
ou
method.
application, yes, Partuleton. It's a French title by Salvatore Lanzetti, and there is he printed it in Amsterdam, but there is a double source. And this is a book printed, all made. It includes only exercises on the scale. And so this was a book, so we can imagine that it was an important topic. And in Guida there are I don't remember exactly how many, perhaps 8 couples of exercises on the scale. And the fact that is very, very interesting, it is that it is built step by step in a very rational way. And so you start with a very simple arpeggio on one note of the bass. And in each exercise, this little pattern develops. And at the end, and it becomes, I don't know, you add 16th notes or change rhythms. And each exercise is first in binary meter and then in three. And in the end, you have very, very virtuosic music, but the principle is always the same. And the principle is you harmonize the scale with the rule of the octave, and on each note of the bass, you use the same pattern you use in the first measure. So you put a pattern on the first measure, and then you repeat it like a little, I don't know how you call it,
Sequence pattern.
uno stampino, something that you use and you repeat the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, changing the notes because the harmony changes, but you keep the shape almost the same. For an instrumental pattern. Otherwise, you have another possibility, which is to build cantabile, for example, in andante, adagio, and you want something melodic. And so here it is different because you don't use quick patterns, but like it is in expressive music, slow music, you have long notes with some flourishes, quick flourishes. And this is another way of approaching to the bass. So you have these two possibilities, and it is a true school for learning the techniques. I think this is interesting. You have not only to repeat them, and so you learn by memory to repeat them, but you learn the techniques because they are really, really so clear. I think they are really clear. It was a bit hard to understand them, but in the end, when I explain them now, I think that it is it is easy to understand and to borrow and to after to modify at will. I hope it's so.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned the scale that it builds off of. Does it go into movimento, moti del basso? Does it go into other things, or does it just stay on the scale? And how
Is
long is the treatise? Is it a long treatise?
no, 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 no. It is not long, and it has no words at all. So the job was also to understand how to use these
Mm.
exercises. And after this middle part of the method, there is a final section with very, very easy duets, but so stupid that they really seem so stupid after, because the exercise is so on the scale. The last one is very, very difficult, demanding, with so quick notes and big leaps and all the whole texture of the instrument. And then these duets arrive, and they seem for the first steps. And I suppose that they are how do you say, canva on which you have to apply what you
Mm.
learned. And so because they are written all in double counterpoint, and this is very nice because so you propose something, you call, and then the second cello answers, and he can imitate what you did, or he can vary. And this is very, I think this is very an effective way of teaching, playing and being imitated, and then it changes, but because the other proposes something and you have to imitate, and you show how to vary. It's a bit a circle, and it's a very I don't know, a very active way of learning and of teaching too.
Really nice to hear about that. So I wanted to ask now, we go into a topic of contrast now. So you talked about how you learned more in a 20th century manner, or a more modern way of learning the cello. How is this different from this traditional method? Can you like, for instance,
Compare.
you said earlier that we're not trained to improvise anymore, and this is a
Yes.
clear pedagogical path on how to improvise. Can you? I don't know anything about the cello. I know it's a beautiful instrument. I like the sound of it. That's about it. That's all I know. So, how does a cellist like learn the cello nowadays? Like, can you give me
Mm.
like how a normal person in a modern conservatory or from childhood, what
Yeah.
methods would they do, and is it very different from what you just described?
Yes, it's another word, really. It's totally different. I think totally different. The first thing is that nowadays we used to read everything. After perhaps we learn and we can play without watching the page, but first we see the
Mm.
page, and we are really stick to the page. And so this is the first thing. It depends a bit. I speak in general, and I'm sure there are very good teachers who have some a bit different methods. But I think the main thing is that the duties of the performer were different, because before the performer had to add so much to the score. And so the training of a good performer started from the very beginning, to force the pupil to add something. It's the contrary of what we do nowadays, because today you have to stay strict on the score, and you have you can't change anything, and you no, you have to follow strictly the instructions, because you are good when you play exactly what it's written, no, exactly the value of the notes, exactly the dynamics. Instead, before, for example, Guida, I thought so much, and I went to bed, and I continued thinking, because it was really how do you say, una sfida, no? I don't know. I'll be find the word. Um, a bit like a puzzle to reconstruct. For example, in Guida, there is the ascending scale and not the descending one. And I thought, why? Why? Also, also because the descending scale is more difficult for everyone. I don't know why, but it's more difficult. And I thought it's not written because you have to learn it and you have to do it also without the help of the page. And the second exercise in Guida is a diminution pattern applied to each degree of the scale. It's the second exercise. It's incredible. So from the beginning, and I found really many sources in which it's so obvious that you have to change it. I wanted to say a thing. What I was looking for at the beginning when all this research started was I was looking for was some testimony of the fact that they improvised. So I was looking for the term improvisation in all the dictionaries because I can read French, English, German, Spanish, Italian, and I couldn't find the word. It doesn't exist, the word improvisation. Why? Why? And uh, after reading other books on other matters, on other topics, I understood, or this is what I think, but I'm not the only one. It's because it was obvious. It was obvious. It's so obvious that you don't write it each day. I inspire air. It's full of air because so I can breathe. It was obvious, and so also their training was so different because the pupil had to grow autonomous. And to grow autonomous, he has not to repeat the same, it's the contrary. Today, we form mostly, I don't know, orchestral players. I don't know, in the conservatory, I think most of the students have this idea of a job, or I don't know. I did it for many years because it's a good job, and they need people to play, many
Mm.
people. Um, and so you don't have to decide anything, and you have to see who can think for you, and you follow. This is
Mm.
the setup of the orchestra player today. Not really. This is not so the truth for early music and playing the first cello, because you have to play the recitatives and you are so much free, and you can also diminish a bit, like only a bit, because today this is another problem. Only high instruments, high voices diminish, and the bass has not the right. And this is one of the main reasons why I made this research, because I'm getting old. I'm really how do you say, sono stanca. I'm a bit tired of repeating always the same notes like they're written. Okay, I lost a bit myself where we
No,
started from.
yeah. Well, yeah, I was just following along too. Well, I think let's backtrack a little bit. We were talking about the difference, right, between the cellist's
Ah, okay.
pedagogy of today and
Today,
to
yesterday.
contrast with Guida. And you
Yes,
were going, you were telling me, yeah, about the difference, totally different way, the adding of the diminutions very early, as early as the second step, and
yeah.
the is it a forbidden thing to change the bass line? Is that a forbidden? Is that a
Today,
rule that it is because you just cannot alter the bass? And is that different from early music?
um, there are two different things. One is the modern repertoire, and in which everything is written for everybody. Nobody
Mm.
can change anything, but I don't know, Boeing's or the way. And so you have to find a better way to do what is written. And the good, I think that the good interpreter today works to understand the will of the composer, and then you work to do you do your best to make it happen. So you transform the note and all the signs to you bring life, trying to follow what you imagine that is the will of the composer. Instead, before, and clearly this happened. There was a change. There was a change. Perhaps it was during the 18th century, especially during the end of the 18th century. Before, the score was a canvas, a skeleton, how do you want to call it, and you could add. I don't want to say everything you want, because it's not. This is not right, you know. But if you, for example, a word that we use today, embellishment. What does it mean? Embellish. It means that you embellish the music. So what you add makes the music become more beautiful. And today, it's nobody would say this today. If you dare to say, I want to add something to Beethoven so that it becomes more beautiful, you are
That's
considered
ooh.
crazy. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not acceptable today. Instead, um, it was not acceptable. It was a duty. It was a duty of the good performer, and it's written in in all the sources. Really, in all the sources, it's written the true virtuoso is the one who can improvise, and they accepted all kinds of performances. So, for example, I don't remember now the name of the composer, but there is a print, I think, mid 17th century perhaps, and in the preface it's written, I didn't write the diminutions because the music is beautiful always, also this way, and all can play this. Besides, if I would have written my diminutions, who can play them would never follow what's written, and would have always played his own diminutions. So this is why I didn't I
Mm,
didn't write them. What does it mean? It means that you you are free also to play without diminutions. For example, I think that amateurs didn't add so many,
mhm,
but the professional ones, the great virtuosi, they changed every night. They changed every night. There's a fantastic score on internet. It's on
mhm.
IMSLP,
Yeah, sure.
and
What is it?
it's a rondo by Cherubini, and it's Nicholas Baragvanat that told us this thing, because I took some lessons, wonderful lessons with him of historical solfège, and they are the variations of a very famous castrato. I don't remember now the name. And there was a nobleman who went each night, and he wrote everything. It's fantastic because you see all the variations he made, and divided. I don't. Perhaps there were, I don't know, 17, 18 times, and it was each night different. Each night different. And I think this is a fantastic way to give life to music. And each time you go to listen, you listen the fantastic composer, but you listen also the fantastic performer who has his her own personality, and gives beauty, can contribute to the beauty. I
Mm.
think it's a fair way to make music, because this
Fair way. It's the best way. I mean, oh my goodness, what have we lost? We've lost it all. It's gone. We need to bring it back. Okay.
yeah,
Let's talk about historical sources and scores. How do we use them? What's you were talking about? It was obvious for these people that you were not going to play the same thing every night. It was obvious. Is that what you were pointing at? Is that what you were hinting at when
yeah.
we look at historical things?
um, there's a problem because I am looking for what is not written, and I have only written documents. So it's a bit a contradiction, no? To say I work on sources on improvisation, but what was improvised, it's not written. So I'm looking for traces which show something. For example, for me, the teaching of improvisation is clear. It's clear because I've been working on it for a long time. Because when you see that there is a path step by step, and you use patterns in a specific way, you are showing how to learn them, how to use them. You're showing the techniques, and in this way, I can reconstruct the teaching method. But there is also another interesting way that when this is made, when this first part that I understood that first that improvisation can be taught and can be learned, and second, then that there are historical methods that today we can again use, then it follows that the repertoire, it becomes how do you say, a repository of
Mm.
patterns. And it's very interesting, and it's also very amusing. It's fantastic because, for example, once that you understand the logic of the diminutions, and you understand that all the music is written on simple skeletons, and all that black that you see, all that quick notes are additions to the skeletons. Once that you understand this, you can copy and you can borrow, and this is what they did. They did this, and I think this is also the reason why, for example, I don't know, Paganini non ripete, because otherwise they copied they copied him, and he never let anything listen to what he was going to play the night, because it was always different, and because otherwise they would have been, and there was not the author's rights, no. So the first who printed was the owner. It's incredible. Yes.
What was the name of the? Could you say that quote again for Paganini? Is it that Italian quote? It's, I guess it's famous, but I don't know what it is.
Paganini non ripete.
No
Paganini, he
repeats.
doesn't repeat. He does never
Mm,
repeats. He never
that is a
repeats.
cool quote.
Yeah, mm, I'm not, come si dice, I didn't study so specifically Paganini, so,
Mm,
but he's a myth, no? He's
yeah.
iconic.
Okay.
And
So
okay.
okay. So how do you teach improvisation? Let's say I have a student who is 7 years old, 8 years old, and instead of the modern way, I want to send them to you because I want them to learn in a more traditional way and a more historical way. So, what would you do? How would you start cello instruction?
Yes. Um, First, we have to say that to improvise, you have to know a bit the instrument, otherwise you can't do anything. But you can learn the first steps anyway, making music and having fun, which I think is very important. For example, when someone is starting, I play grounds on two notes. So who is starting can play these two notes without any problem, or even if he never played before. And I play some variations on the two notes, and then the pupil can make something very, very easy on these two notes, and this is the way to start. And if you transpose the small patterns in various keys, or with the cello, a fifth above or a fifth and below, you already have the same pattern on all the strings, and you start to know how it works with fingerings, with the positions, with music, with the improvisation, everything together. And this is also a very important difference, that they learned all together: the technique, music, harmony, form. Instead, today we are a bit like how do you say a fabrica? I don't really remember the same, where they built cars. How do you say? It's,
A factory?
factory, yes. A factory in the sense that today it's all divided in topics, and there is one side you study fingerings, and the other side you study the bowings, and the other side there is the repertoire, which comes after years of technique. And so you work so long only with technique, which is not music, and also the studies are not music. The music is the repertoire, or improvisation, but the studies really there are some studies, for example, for cello, which are very beautiful, but I can count them on my two hands, and the other are really bad music and so boring and so difficult. And I studied them, and it's a quick way to learn to be a good technician. But I don't know for music if they are so interesting.
Okay, so, but then again, I was listening to your lecture with Professor Guido Olivieri, and isn't the cello rather modern in the sense that it was not standardized until late in the 18th century? So, if a student is looking at repertoire, is that the same instrument that they're playing, or are they playing an older instrument on a modern cello?
Yes, this is an interesting question, because among the strings, the cello is the most modern one, because it appeared at the end of the 17th century, and as it is so modern, it's not so different from the modern cello, and it's easy also to change from one another. What changes very much is the approach, and also the use of gut strings or the historical bows. But in general, it's really very, very similar. And in many cellists use the diatonic fingering, which is like the violin. Each finger makes a semitone, a half tone, or a tone. You can change. You can always change the position of the hand. Instead, today we have all cellists have the chromatic fingering, which is the one of the gamba. So the technique of the gamba then went to the cello tradition. I lost again myself from the beginning.
No, just the difference. Does it even matter in the first place, that the fact that the modern cello, I guess, fixed itself rather late compared to the other strings? And will that
Uh,
really affect the repertoire? I guess your answer is no. It's not going to be a huge problem.
Not so much, not so much. There are some researchers who made a huge work on the different shapes of the cello. For example, there is Mark Van Skivik. I don't know how to pronounce his surname, I'm sorry. And he's a friend, he's a great musicologue, and he found so much material about all the different shapes. And we have also some images of the cello da spalla, which is a very complicated topic. Anyway, I think it's a bit like today with electric guitars, because if today you want to see which are the shapes, they continue to invent new shapes, and sometimes no, they make what they many experiments. And this was the case because it was a live tradition. Today it's a bit a museum, no?
Mm.
And but for example, in Italy we have no traces of instrument with 5 strings, so so it's not so different than to play on older cello or on a more modern cello. But the first cellos were tuned one tone lower in B flat in the whole Italy. So the lowest note was a B flat, and the sound was much more dark. This is very really incredible. It seems another instrument. For example, I played the opera by Pasquini, aspetta, L'Idalma, which I made the transcription, and we played this opera in Innsbruck for the Innsbrucker Festwochen der Alte Musik, and this is from 1680, and we tuned the cellos one tone lower, and it's incredible because the whole sound of the orchestra sounded so more dark and low. It's incredible. Unbelievable. Yes,
Should
it's a bit
we? You talked about tuning it down to B flat. We actually have a video. Should we play that video about you? I
mhm.
mean, we should have some music. What do you think? A good change, right?
Yes, yes.
So let maybe we should bring that up. Can you explain what's going on, what you're doing here, and maybe
Okay,
we can play it.
okay. This video comes from a lecture and concert from Music King, which was a week dedicated to early music and to the research about early practice in the University of Oregon. So I participated online. And I played a short program with the cello tunes in B flat, which made me crazy because it's really challenging. And in the end, I proposed some variations on Passacaglia and on La Tarantella. Because in the concert, which is on my website, if someone wants to listen it entirely. First, I played some Passacaglias by Gaetano Francone, which are included in the Monte Cassino manuscript. We were talking before a bit about this. And in the end, I proposed my own variations.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Maybe you could just explain a little bit what you did over there. Maybe we could just talk your thought process through that.
Yes, we listen to the variations on the passacaglia, and then there are the variations on the tarantella, just to say what we were listening to. And it's a very long topic because it involves all researches and all I teach, and you listen something more melodic and something instead more virtuosic with the quick notes, and these are the two approaches I was also talking before. The first step is to build a simple counterpoint on the bass. What does it mean? That for each note of the bass, you have to play one note. And with the bass instrument, you also can play the same note of the bass. I don't know how to say.
Both are good.
How do you, Both are good, fantastic. And so this is the simple counterpoint. And it's very important to know that until the mid 18th century, a counterpoint was divided only in two species: the simple one, which is one note against one note, and all the other, which means the entire word of possibility was the compound counterpoint or diminished. What does it mean? It means that a player is free once that you have made a good counterpoint with one note on the beat at the beginning of the measure. You are free to do what you want, almost free, if you have a good taste, as they said. And so after you put this note, for example, now I don't have a keyboard to tune. Da, di, da, da, da. After the on this note, you can keep this note down, and then you have to make a simple skeleton with the notes of the arpeggio. And for example, tan tan tan, and on each of these notes, which constitute a simple skeleton, you add the virtuosic patterns. And then this pattern, you can repeat it like it is in the other measures, or you can make little variations, or you can decide to change the pattern. There are different possibilities. And this is one possibility, one approach for making virtuosic things. The other approach is melodic, and so you have to build a beautiful melodic line, and so you have to choose your notes. Okay, so you build this new counterpoint, that means a new melodic line, and you have not to play it so simple. You add little flowers, little things, and it becomes a beautiful melody. And then there are many other techniques, and some I use them. We listen to a very short piece. For example, I don't remember if we hear or in the tarantella, I split my part into voices, so one higher and one lower, to make like a call and answer in different registers. Okay. I could speak so much, but I think it's too technical
Ca-
after. No?
No, it's very interesting. Can I ask you a question that's a little bit left field, but somewhat related? I think for many non-cellists, maybe the most famous cello song is the Bach cello suite in G. Everyone, as a cellist, let me ask you, as a cellist and an improviser, when you
Mhm.
look at that piece, I've seen some, for me, not very satisfying analyses of the piece on YouTube, and but
Mhm.
you're someone who improvises in the traditional way. When you look at
Mhm.
something like that and what Bach is doing,
Mhm.
what comes to mind? Just can you spend a little bit talking about that cello suite, the one in
Yeah.
G?
Yes. I know it.
Oh, it's a big
Yeah.
surprise.
Um, well, I recognize the patterns, and I recognize the structure, and I don't know. What to say. For me, I try to make at home. I sometimes ago. I made many variations, keeping the structure and changing the patterns, or using the same patterns but in other places of the prelude. Or this is an exercise I propose when I hold my improvisation courses, that we see historical piece, and we make a quick analysis, which is the skeleton, and which are the little elements used to fill the big spaces left in the skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a game, and a game is to take the pattern and use it in another place, to exchange the places, or a simple way, which is very effective, is to use the same notes but inverting the directions. So instead of going downwards, you go upwards. So in the end, you have a totally different piece, but using all the elements Bach
Mm.
proposed. It's a way to it's like a game, and to have fun with music. But I think you learn you learn so much. And what I have to say, Bach is fantastic. I
No,
don't know what to
no, I
say.
mean, okay, wait, hold a second. You were so casual about the fact that you could take a piece like that, one of the most famous pieces, and mess around with the notes. And you say it so casually, but I remember when I was trained in a different way, a different non-partimental way, I used to look at this score and I said, like, what chord is this? And what is the fundamental chord here? And I got so confused. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know when he was changing key. Could you speak a little bit about analysis and so looking at a historical piece and simplifying it so that you can have the skeleton in place? Like what can we talk a little bit about music theory, because I know you are actually well trained in
Yes.
composition and counterpoint. So talk a little bit about music theory and how and an analysis.
Mm. Without any example, as a bit general, but just to say a couple of phrases. Yes, I studied composition for 7 years,
Seven
and I
years.
started
Wow.
7 years.
Okay.
By mistake, I had to stop because there was a mistake at the conservatory. Unfortunately, I was radiated. It was a shock. It was awful, really. Anyway, this is my history, and now I'm so happy that I can improvise, and it's a bit
Mm,
a way to continue that way. Um, so I studied harmony as it is taught nowadays with numbers, the Roman numerals with
mhm,
functional. This is called functional harmony,
mm,
and it's a theory of the 19th century Germany. And it comes from Rameau, but it's very different from Rameau. And then I also studied counterpoint with Fuchs, the species by
mhm,
Fuchs, so first diagonal. But these tools, mm, I'm happy I studied them because I have a common language with all my colleagues, and I can also understand modern music. But for the music of the 18th and earlier periods, they are not so useful because they built music in a very different way. Because the first thing they did is to make counterpoint. So the first element is the melodic line, and one line or two. And this is perhaps why I also know I also see Bach and think, but what kind of chord is this? Because you can't understand. There is a bass and then total different come si dice, above, no? Total different. You see ninth, 11th.
mm,
How this is possible? This is possible because you have two lines, and one makes suspensions, and the other stays. It's a pedal. It's called pedal.
mm,
And what does it mean? That you have the possibility of different things than if we use only the logic of the chords, which is vertical, which is a vertical logic, and it's a bit a logic which I don't say it doesn't help it doesn't help melodic instruments to improvise, because if you have only some pillars and you have holes and you don't know how to fill them, you can't play. Perhaps for a keyboard, I don't know, it's a bit different because you make many chords, you have many notes, and each chord is very rich. Instead, we can't play so many beautiful chords because we can play chords, but they are awful and out of tune. And so our best is to play many quick notes that we can do, and there are some specific techniques of the strings so that can help you to show your abilities. And so with many quick notes, the logic of the counterpoint works very very well. And so how to analyze? Yes, the first thing is the counterpoint. Counterpoint, and most of the pieces are written in counterpoint in two voices, not more, especially for the Neapolitan school. Two voices, and when it's complicated, it's three voices. Instead, this is for instrumental music. Instead, in vocal music, we have the strict counterpoint, which in Italian is stile severo, which is conservative, in which you have to take care of the voices, and you can't make all that tricky stuff of instruments. And there you have double counterpoint for voices, double choir, and very very complicated things. But for instrumental music, it's the bases are more simple, because on these bases they added so much, so much, really.
Mm. Okay. Oh wow. Wait, look at the time. Do you have to sing? Is that important? Is that important for learning improvisation, for composition, for just pedagogy? I mean, to be a better musician, is it necessary to sing?
Mm. Unfortunately not, because it's beautiful to sing. It's better. It's better. If you can sing, you are a much better musician, no doubt. And you learn also more easily music, because I made viola gamba lessons to a group of amateurs, and they all sing in a choir, and they went so quick. They went so quick. We made always group lessons with improvisation, and it was fantastic, because even if they didn't know their instrument, they could sing everything in their mind, and so after it was much easier to make it with hands. I think it's a good thing. They did it. They did it because they did 3 years solfeggio, and solfeggio meant diminutions on simple skeletons. So they were trained to do this so many times with voice, and
Mm,
it's a powerful way of
mm.
training.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned about the 19th century German harmony. Let's talk about basso continuo. Is it important for classical musicians to learn basso continuo today?
Yes, it is important, because today we continue to play the music of the 18th century, and basso continuo was used also until at least mid 19th century. Even if there was not written the basso, but the logic was that one. And here the topic is complicated, because also before you said something that partimento, the definition is for keyboard. The modern definition is for keyboard. The historical definition not.
Mm.
And this is true because we have some partimenti for violoncello. And
What? We have violoncello partimenti? You have to tell me about this.
yes, there is a source. It's Partimenti di Rocco Greco. And Rocco Greco is the same who wrote some symphony for violoncello in the Monte Cassino manuscript, and he was the brother of the most
You
famous
mentioned him
Gaetano Greco.
at the beginning, right, of the interview. Yes.
Yes. And in the Monte Cassino manuscript, there are 11 antiphons, diminished antiphons, which are tones of diminutions on an organ bass of the 1666 by Bonifacio Graziani. And partially, these antiphons are in another manuscript, which has a title, Partimenti di Rocco Greco, which is kept in the library of the Conservatorio San Pietro a Maiella in Naples. And we know that they are for cello because comparing the two sources, you see that these diminutions are the same of the antiphons for violoncello, and this is sure that the antiphons were for violoncello. So we have Partimenti Rocco Greco, and it's a big manuscript. And there is an article for who is interested. I wrote with Catherine Ban, which is a colleague. She's also play both cello and viola da gamba. She lives in New York. And she also very interested in historical improvisation. And we wrote together this article, which was published in, I don't know, if November or December of the last year, so 1 month ago, in a volume by Brepols. I think it's a Basso Continuo in Italy, edited by Marcello Mazzetti. So now it's clear where you can find all the informations. And going back to Rocco Greco, so there is a first part, which are these antiphons. And the title is Partimenti. So this is very interesting because nowadays, for Partimenti, we mean something a bit chordal, with little flourishes, but a chordal structure. But this is not mentioned in any treatise, in any historical source. This is a modern way of approaching. And we have also to say that the Partimento has a long history, so perhaps also has a bit changed during time. In any case, in the end of the 17th century, melodic diminutions were considered partimenti, realizations of partimenti. And after this part, in Rocco Greco, there are two parts which are more similar to the partimenti we find in sources for keyboard. So easy basses with the patterns that you can combine over one over another, and a section with the partimenti diminuiti. So they are basses with lots of diminutions. And this is a school to learn which is the structure and which are the diminutions. And so in this article, we wrote what we studied about these sources. But this is interesting because this is a testimony of the fact that the basses are improvised over a bass. What is now the left hand of the keyboard? Because nowadays the keyboard plays the left, how it stays, and at the right they make something. But we have also historical example of diminutions at the left, also for example by Gasparini.
Okay, so here is the image that you sent.
Yes, this is from the treatise by Francesco Gasparini, L'armonico pratico al cembalo, which is very, very known. And in the end, there are his diminutions of the basso fondamentale. And it's very interesting because usually keyboardists diminish at the right hand, not at the left. Here we have an example. If we check the first notes of the diminution correspond to the first note to the bass, for example, here, G, F sharp, G, E, F, G, C, D, E, F sharp. They are exactly the same. And after he puts a pattern, And this pattern is always the same, but with the notes changed for adapting to the different harmonies. And I think this is very interesting. And it's interesting. Can we see the
The
writing,
description.
what you write?
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I
Let's
can
bring
put
that
it.
up.
Ok, so del diminuire o rifiorire il fondamento, about diminishing or embellishing the fundament. So what does he say? He says it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because you can make the singer lost his way, and you can lose yourself, your way, and you can offend the composer anyway. I will give some example, and there are some pages, not only the one we
Yeah.
showed before. I don't know, 4 pages of examples, and they are very nice. And that this is it means that you can use it, but
Mm.
you have to be responsible. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so we missed one question, which I think is quite important. Is if you are not a keyboard player, we talked about singing. Should you learn the keyboard if you're a cellist or a violinist? Will it be useful for you? Is it necessary to learn the keyboard to learn to improvise? I mean, I don't think it is, but is it good to learn some keyboard?
um, I had to learn piano, and I studied also harpsichord, and this was very useful. But I'm not sure that it is necessary to improvise. But it's necessary to play a polyphonic instrument to understand well music. This is sure.
Hmm.
I'm not sure that it has to be a keyboard. Perhaps I don't know, a guitar also, or a harp. Anyway, it's true that the keyboard is so well done that I think it's easier perhaps there. And so much repertoire is for keyboard, and so many treatises for keyboard, that I think it's very, very useful. Yes, because the problem for us string players is that the model of the keyboard is not so useful. It's more useful the model of, for example, guitar or lute, because it's more similar to our instrument. So, for example, if we want to make a prelude, it's sure that the models taken by the guitar repertoire are more. We can arrange them in an easier way than the piano repertoire. This is a bit too different.
Good, good. I want to talk now. Let's talk about this. This is a CD that you've made, and tell me about this group and the CD, and just the. I'd like to talk a little bit about your recorded work now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It has been a huge work. I worked so much for this CD because the music is very, very demanding, and because I wanted to experiment what I have been searching for so many years. Supriani is very interesting because it's a school of diminution. In this is a double CD, and there are his sonatas. That means diminished sonatas on his toccatas for cello solo. And then there are 2 sonatas in the modern sense, 2 compositions in 4 movements. And then there is a very, very difficult studio in 3 movements, which is totally crazy, very, very difficult.
Why do you say that?
But
Just difficult.
it's very difficult because you have to use the thumb in thumb position. And the problem is that we have no date for these compositions. If you go to see in the dictionaries, New Grove, I don't know, and you search for thumb position for cello, they see that the first sources are Martin Berthaud in France in the 30s. And we can't say that this is before, but there is a capotasto here, and very virtuosic use of the thumb position. That we find it's a similar exercises we use. We find them in Duport. There is a famous collection of studies which is nowadays still used in conservatories by Jean-Louis Duport. And in his collections, there are two studies which were written not by him, but by his brother, Jean-Pierre, and the teacher of his brother, Martin Berthaud. And these studies by Berthaud and Jean-Pierre have a similar use of the thumb position, and it's historically, I don't know if it's historically sure that Marteau saw Alborea playing in concert. They said that he took lessons with Alborea, but it is not there's not a testimony. Anyway, he saw him in concert, and this is the technique that Supriani shows. It's a bit complicated. I had prepared also an image for here to show how Supriani composed his sonatas, if you would like
Absolutely.
to.
So here's the score now.
Yes, this is the first. This is the beginning of the sonata number 1 by Francesco Paolo Supriani. And we see it's a very, very particular score because there's a triple stave. And the interesting thing that the first line, the first stuff, is exactly the toccata per violoncello solo that he wrote in another manuscript, which is Principi per imparare a suonare il violoncello, which includes a very, very short method, which is the first ever written for violoncello, and 12 toccatas for violoncello solo. These 12 toccata, he used 10 of them to compose new music. This new music is in the second staff. Here we have toccata is the original name. Sonata is a posthumous name to understand what we are talking about. Is the diminished version, the sonata. And Supriani added also a basso continuo, which is in the third staff. If we see the first notes of the second line, they match exactly with the toccata. So this is the technique I was talking about of a simple skeleton. So the toccata is used like a skeleton to which adding all the patterns you want, and having all together, this becomes a true school because you can clearly understand the logic, the approaches, and the patterns. And I worked on it. So, for example, if you go a bit on, we have okay. This is the last one, the last toccata for violoncello solo. And in the manuscript, he didn't finish to compose the sonata. He didn't start. In reality, he only added some measures of the continuo. And this is interesting because it shows the method of composing. So he had the first, the toccata for cello solo. Second step, he added a basso continuo. Third step, in this case, you have to add your diminutions to the skeleton to have your 12 toccata, 12 sonata, sorry. So I made a list, I made a list of all Supriani's diminution techniques. And for example, in my courses, I work on each technique. This is my list, my personal definition and organization of his work, which is not so rational. He wrote the music, but it works. It works because in courses, taking his examples and showing in which way he used, for example, a neighboring tone, in which way he applied them to the skeletons, and which variations he made to this technique. It's a very effective way to learn from Supriani and to be able after to apply in his style, to apply your own diminutions to his toccatas. And this is what I did in the city. It was a
No,
very
I'm sorry, but uh, did you mention this earlier? When in the 18th century was Supriani? Is he an 18th century musician? The first half, second half? When was he born and his lifespan?
He was born in 17, no, 1670, something, 1705,
Okay.
1708, I don't remember exactly. And he died in I'm sorry, I'm confusing 17th century with 17. Allora,
16
he was
something. He's
born.
like Bach, right?
Okay. He was born in 1670 something, and he died in 1753. And this, I'm really sure of this. He died the 28th August because I was born on the 28th August. So this is the date
That
I
is
can
amazing.
remember very, very well.
Right.
So
So
this
he
is
was a
a bit to
complete contemporary of Durante, Bach, Scarlatti, just a total
yes.
contemporary. So I'm sorry, did you mention where he was working out of, which city and where he was?
Naples, Naples.
Okay,
He was born in Conversano, which is near Bari,
okay,
but he was sent to the conservatory, if I remember well, La Pietà dei Turchini in
okay.
Naples, as a soprano. And then because they needed so many choir boys. And then who was lucky and had not a good voice and could
Just have the
have
German.
a happy life, continued with an instrument because the other had a really big dangers. Was hopeful really that if you had a wonderful voice, you had a bad destiny. It's it was a drama. I don't know how they could
Hmm.
make it.
Look at this. I mean,
Uh,
there's not even an English entry on the Wikipedia. You can only find it on the French or the German. There's nothing. So, yeah.
Yes, because it's not so known, and it's Guido Olivieri who found the manuscript. And Guido Olivieri was the first to understand that the triple staves were the toccata, the
Mm.
diminution, and the basso continuo, because they for some time they didn't understand what it was, and they thought it was they were a sonata for two cellos and basso continuo.
Mm. Fantastic.
Um,
Amazing. I mean, what can I say? That's so
And
cool.
may I say the last thing about the
Yes.
CD, as you I give
Yes. Let me bring it
I
back
give
up here.
me this kind opportunity. Uh,
And what is this
I
group?
recorded.
Can you pronounce this for me? And is this a French? I'm
It's
bad
a
at French.
French, Les Amis Partimentistes.
Okay.
And it's a joke. It's a joke because the word doesn't exist in French, partimentisto, and it also doesn't exist in Italian because le partimentiste doesn't exist because the women did not study in the conservatory in Naples.
This is
Only,
true. Yeah.
only in Venice. Only in Venice there were women studying music, and we thought a bit on the name. It's very difficult to find a good name, and as it is a really a huge work and so heavy, we wanted to give some lightness, un po' di leggerezza, no, to it, and decided to make a bit like a joke, and it's a bit also a reference to the tradition which was brought to France, because you know that they took the partimenti tradition and they tried to build a conservatory in Paris on the Neapolitan
Mm.
tradition. This is true for some things and for other not, because all the improvisation side was cancelled. But anyway, they continued. They continued there, and the last one was a female. The last one who taught with the partimenti, because it was one of the sisters Boulanger. It was Nadia Boulanger, the last one to
Yes.
use. Yeah, and so it's a bit un omaggio to
Now,
this.
how
To
much work did it take to make this CD? You said it was a very grand undertaking.
How much? How many days to record? Do you mean,
Or
or to
just, yes, the
prepare it?
project. How long was the project?
The project, I was studying Supriani from years because it was really interesting, and but I didn't know that I would have. I would record it anyway at home. I tried and studied, and at what I wanted to record something because I'm getting old, and I thought to myself I have to record something. And some of my best friends, for example, Chiara Tiboni, which is the cembalo player, harpsichord player, and she also said, Giovanna, we have to find something good to record. And then also another good friend, Mara Galassi, who plays the harp, the double harp here. She's very famous, and also she works on improvisation, historical improvisation. It's many, many years she has been working on this. And also she said, Giovanna, we have to record something together. What? And at one moment, I realized that Supriani was the good thing to record. And I talked with Olivieri, and nobody already did it because it was really challenging because of the difficulty of the pieces. And I decided to give a special approach of the CD because a double CD only cello and only didactical music, I thought perhaps it would be a bit heavy.
Mhm.
And so having more instruments with different timbres, it could be, for example, harp has a clear sound. Also, the bassoon is the sound is so more brilliant than the cello. The cello is more I don't know touching,
Mellow,
but the bassoon,
warm. Yeah.
yes, warm is see, but the bassoon is I don't know brilliant and I don't know how to say. Anyway, different, and what I wanted to have some differences, and we are all five interested in improvisation, and so each one made her own diminutions, and in some sonatas I added a concertante second cello or imitations in other instruments, and so this was challenging and also very, very amusing. I liked it so much. In the little video I made with my son Eugenio, I also wanted to show this, that only the first measures of the first toccata and sonata, how can you vary, what can you do applying Supriani's diminutions. And this is the work we made for the whole double CD, but this is also what I wanted to show in that short video.
Let's do
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, so let's play. So this is recorded with your son. Okay, so let's play this one.
We will play Francesco Supriani's Toccata number 1 for cello. He wrote this for cello solo, and then another version with many diminutions for cello and continuo. These are the first measures of his Toccata number 1 for cello solo. And the same measures with his diminutions with the continuo. And then we prepared a little cello duo, the same measures. And to finish, another variation on the same measures.
Bravo! Wonderful, wonderful.
Uh,
That was
the
awesome.
idea was
His son is very talented too.
thank you, thank you.
It's such a shame that classical music has is known now for not improvising. I mean, that's what it's
Yes.
known for, and it's such a departure from history and such a strange turn that this great all this great music that this classical music came from improvisers, came from composers, and so maybe Professor Barbati, let's end off with a nice message on this. So, you are very experienced, you're a teacher. There are a lot of undergraduates and young people who are perhaps looking for a different path, that are perhaps maybe, music education now is so challenging. Can you give some advice for undergraduates or even young people learning music? And your
Mhm.
perspective would be really welcome.
Yes. I had prepared the other video showing
Yeah.
how to do the first steps, but it's a bit long because perhaps you could decide what to show. And I already told you that I use grounds to teach at the beginning, and this is historical because, for example, the guitar treatises which were written in Europe uh, were mostly constituted by passacaglias or other grounds and some preludes. And the ground is a very useful tool, is funny, and is already music. This is important because the scale, yes, you can study improvising on the scale, and sometimes it seems that you are playing a true piece. It seems like a prelude, but with grounds and in group, because I like very much teaching in group, and I see that students have much more fun in group. They learn so much more, and this is very different from how today we make lessons, because they are all individual lessons, and we are used to study alone. Instead, studying in group and making lessons in group, it could be, I think, a good addition to the traditional, to the academic path today. And I don't know, I say to all students to keep each possibility to add something. So, for example, they have to play something in concert, add a little preludio, or you have to play a sonata, add a little cadenza, and I don't know, you have you play in orchestra and some rhythmic diminution in the bass. Each occasion is a good one, and the more you do it, and the more it it becomes natural, and you make your own little repository of solutions. Yes, this is good. And I don't know, so much time that we are talking, but yeah, in that video, this is really what I do, how I organize the teaching from the first steps, that one of the Greensleeves. So
Great. So I
I
think
think,
what we'll do, yeah, I think what we'll do is, I think that is a fantastic message. Maybe we'll play it at the end of the interview, and then that'll be a
okay.
perfect way to end the video. A model lesson. I think that's really nice. So, Professor Barbati, it's really been a pleasure to have you on the show. And for my audience, please stick around to watch that video. I think it's really interesting. Especially teachers can really learn a lot from that. And it's been a lot of fun. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Nicky Logan. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure for me and really a very, very important occasion.
Hello, we are going today to show how I usually teach improvisation. And today we improvise over a ground bass, which is Greensleeves. And I chose this one because it's simple. It's made only by 4 measures, and the melody is very simple, and it's made of by a piece of scale. Giacomo, could you play it for us, please? Second time with the final cadence. So we have 2 times 4 measures. The first time it ends on the dominant, on the E chord, and the second time it ends on the tonic, which is the A. So we heard the simple melody, but we have also a bass and an upper melody which goes in parallel thirds. So now we will play all together. Giacomo the main line, Eugenio the upper melody in parallel thirds, and I play the bass. Thank you. So we can start with the simplest steps, and the simplest is to play only rhythmic variations. Rhythmic variations, I will play something for you, which is, for example, next step is to add some neighboring notes, which in Italian we call nota di volta, which can be upper or lower. For example, this is the main note. We can play with the upper or with the lower note. So Giacomo will play the melody for us. Eugenio, could you play please a pizzicato? And I play the bass always. Very well, thank you. Eugenio, could you please play for us the same thing but on your upper melody? And you play please the pizzicato. Very nice. We go on. Next step, we go quickly on. Next step is to play both lines, alternating the notes. So, for example, this was the upper, and we can play both alternating because we have melodic instruments. So, for example, with a string instrument, we could also play double stops. But for the moment, we are not interested in this virtuosic diminution because we are at the first steps. So really only the notes of the two melodies without anything else. but you can vary the rhythm and the direction. So you can start from the lower or you can start from the upper note. Giacomo, can you do it? And you always play pizzicato. Very nice, thank you. Would you like also to try Eugenio? And you play pizzicato. Very nice. You went a bit farther on, but it's very beautiful because Eugenio already played batterie, which is a technique typical of the string instruments, in which we fastly alternate two notes. So now perhaps Giacomo, you can show us another kind of batterie, because he played 1 plus 5. And instead, Giacomo, you can play alternating always the same with the same pattern. And okay, so you play the bass, you play pizzicato, and you play batterie. So, in the end, I will play some variations on the traditional melody of Greensleeves. And to finish, Giacomo and Eugenio, I will play a little duo also on the traditional melody. So, who accompanies me? Who plays the bass and who the arpeggio?
I do the arpeggio.
And the bass.